Welcome to Gold Mines. In this podcast, I'll be speaking with extraordinary people to uncover stories behind their golden moment. Every episode is packed with inspiration and unforgettable stories. Follow us now and you'll be the first to know when episodes drop. Okay, so today's guest is someone many of us have grown up with on our screens. From her early days as a children's TV presenter on shows like Toonatic to becoming one of UK's most trusted relationship coaches on Celebs Go Dating, Anna Williamson has never been afraid to evolve. She's an author of best-selling books on anxiety, motherhood, and love, and the co-host of the hit Luana podcast, very, very funny podcast, and the voice who has helped thousands of people feel less alone with their struggles. But beyond the titles, what makes Anna so inspiring is her honesty about mental health, about the messy reality of relationships, and about juggling ambition with identity as a woman and as a mum. It is so lovely to have you on the podcast today.
Aww.
Thank you for coming. How are you?
I'm honestly a little bit tearful. Oh, I think I'm due on, Jess, because there you go, straight I'm in. That was a lovely introduction. Thank you.
Don't forget to follow Gold Mines wherever you get your podcasts. You'll be the first to hear when the new episodes drop. Follow us now wherever you get your podcasts.
How very kind. I've been really looking forward to coming on, actually. I think you're amazing. Quite honestly, you've given me a break from my children, which is very welcome today.
We were just saying that. So we've had a full-on summer, haven't we? There's lots going on with kids in the summer holidays.
Oh, it is. And I know, people like to clap back when mums whinge about their kids. Look, we love our kids.
We do. We love them.
They're also really full on.
They've got a lot of questions.
And they've got a lot of questions. And like I say, it's about being real. As you say, I'm not afraid to just be really honest about my life, but also through the lens of all the wonderful people that I have coached and continue to coach in life. And just, like I say, with kids and parenting, it's okay not to love it all the time.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I think obviously and we'll go through your whole journey and, where life began and where you are now. But for me, obviously, I've got loads of questions to ask you. And I suppose let's start with Celeb Go Dating. Yeah. You've been on the show for how many?
Donkey's years.
Is it 11 series?
Series. So I get confused with this because we had a couple of spin-offs during the COVID years. We did a mansion series, we did a virtual series. So we're now in series 14, but this is my 11th series, including the mansion and virtual. So actually, it's crazy because my son Enzo was 18 months old when I started, and he's about to turn 9.
Oh my goodness!
I'm a proper granny.
So you've obviously must have changed so much in that time period, but also the show's probably changed a lot.
It has. It's evolved. It's evolved enormously, actually. And every credit to our execs and the people that make the show at Channel 4, because Paul had come in, Paul C. Brunson, who I do it alongside, and now Dr. Tara Suwinyati-Chaiporn. I've learned her surname, who also has joined us as well as our sexpert, and obviously lovely Tom Reed-Wilson. But Paul came in and I joined the series after he did. So we've been together a very long time, professionally, obviously. But we are, friends as well, obviously, outside the show. It was fantastic, really, for the team that make the show that wanted to lean more into the professional credentials of change work, of coaching, of therapy, which is a huge part of the dating world. And I think, and every credit to them for being brave and allowing us to do what we do. Which is, and I think the biggest surprise that celebrities have, not so much now, because I think celebrities realise before they come on that we aren't actors, we aren't scripted. Nothing of what you see us dating coaches do on the show is scripted at all. We are doing what we do off screen, on screen. We're not there to make friends, we're there to help people.
And how brave are the celebrities to come on, though? When you first started, did you have expectations of what the show was going to be, and has it, have those expectations changed? And how did the celebrities come into it? I imagine they'd be so guarded, but actually that's often the opposite.
It's a great question, actually. You're right. I don't often have a chance to actually reflect on my 8 years on the show. And it's really quite nice to be able to do that, because you're right. When I first joined the show, I was unsure as to what my role really was.
Yeah.
How much of it was me being a coach, a therapist? How much was it me being, wearing my telly hat? Because I have 25 years in TV, and it's really an amalgamation of all of it. And certainly the celebrities were a lot more guarded, I think, initially. But now, I mean, this series is case in point, and it's makes us very proud, actually, that all of the celebrities, without exception, came on, and the first thing they said when they came into, our famous agency chats, our deep dives, was, "Oh, I'm here for the dating, but I'm really here for the advice. I'm here for the coaching," and that's brilliant. I think that just goes to show how much we've evolved as a society. I think as well. In 9 years, therapy, there's a lot of stigma around it, and I always say, therapy is not a dirty word. And I think now, with podcasting, with celebrities, people in general being a lot more honest and authentic about their struggles, it has really sort of paved the way for it to be more relatable, and celebrities being a lot more authentic and less guarded when they come in. I didn't really find any of the celebrities guarded this series. In fact, they couldn't wait to get into that seat. We almost have to crowbar them off.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, this is what I mean." We joke.
Offload.
Yeah, we joke, the three of us together as three dating agents, we're like, "Look, you get thousands of pounds worth of that free therapy. You may as well take it."
And do you ever have to hold back on how you communicate to them? Like, for example, in a private setting, would you, say a little bit more in that context as opposed to being on screen? Do you ever feel that you have to hold back, or can you be completely honest?
It's a great question. We are completely honest.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we would filter. They're just a regular client, a regular person that we would treat everybody the same. I think the only caveat is which would be, I think, the only slight difference to if it wasn't being filmed for a TV show, is that there are some topics which are clearly very sensitive that can sometimes come up in a client session, which these sessions are real. What you see on the TV is maybe 3 or 4 minutes, but the actual session's been an hour and a half long each time. So we're doing some really deep work sometimes with the celebs. And what comes with that is some disclosures that they didn't even know that they had in them. They'd never gone there before. But that's what we're there to do. It's what we're trained to do, is to figure out what's been going on for them that has brought them here to the agency, to unpack their lives and their relationships sort of status. So if we do unpack and uncover something that feels it would be, from a duty of care perspective, negligent to put that on the telly, we will obviously speak to them about that. And we absolutely, they lead it, and as a show, we're here to make warm TV. We're not here to ruin lives. We're here to help lives. So if there's anything that we feel is not in the best interest of the celeb, we will catch it, and this is the beauty of us being fully qualified professionals, that we will catch it, we will refer it to our duty of care team. We have a brilliant team of psychs on the show off screen as well, which people often don't know, and we are checking in on our celebs every day. With us, we're kind of the front line, myself, Dr. Tara and Paul, and then we have our psychs off screen, so then we can continue to do some of that work that won't make it onto the telly, that doesn't benefit anybody from a televisual process, but will benefit them in their life. And we will take that very seriously and sensitively.
And how have you seen relationships, or I suppose people's attitudes to relationships, change over that period of time? Because obviously the celebrity world is very different, and how they approach dating obviously must be. But then just the world that we live in general has changed so much, how we view ourselves, how we portray ourselves to different people. Like, how have you seen, individuals' attitudes to relationships change over the years that you've been involved?
I think what's so nice about working with celebrities is that they are just normal people.
Yeah.
But they do, and I think the viewers, we're all fascinated by celebrities, aren't we? We all want to have a sticky beak, with really what's going on. They typically come with a veneer of the challenge that comes with being a celebrity, is how they date, how their relationships have played out. some more than others in the public eye, which have added to problems, to conflict, to impressions of them.
Yeah.
And it can be a hindrance to a lot of them. A lot of them are skeptical. A lot of them are untrusting. Some of them have had stories sold on them. Some people...
I mean, I always think, how do you navigate that journey? Because so for me, I've been with my husband for, we've been married 12 years now,
Have
but
you?
we
Right.
met quite a young, I was like 18.
So
we've
before
been,
you were a
so
celeb,
before
you
I
were
was
famous.
known for,
Yeah.
for anything.
Yeah.
And we've kind of been on that journey together. And I often think, gosh, to then be in that area or that phase in your life where it's changed so much, and then you have to find a partner or someone to settle down with, that's like, how hard is that?
I think it's and people, I think, non-famous people will go, oh, it's the smallest violin in the world, but it is their world, and I think this is where I come at this, unconditional positive regard. That's their world, and that is their experience of it. People that have, that go after them for disingenuous reasons.
Yeah.
And so that is a challenge that some of them face, and that is something that we have to work with them on. Is being discerning, and being authentic. But what I love about Celebs Go Dating is that we are setting our celebrities up with non-famous people, people from the real world that genuinely apply to be on our show. And I'm not allowed to give anything away with this series. But I think proof is in the pudding that when you start to help people be more discerning about who they're attracting, then great things can happen. Whether you're a celebrity or a non-celebrity, you can have a very meaningful and very authentic relationship.
Tell us.
Let's just say we've had some good success stories this series.
So looking at previous series there as well, obviously you can't tell me about this series, but what have been the most
I'd love
successful?
to if I get told off.
Yeah. Tell me after. But yeah, in previous series, what have been the most successful stories that have come out of it?
I mean, this one always makes you laugh. Probably the most successful relationship that Celebs Go Dating's ever made is Pete Wicks and Sam Thompson.
Really?
It's not a romantic one. I mean, who knows? Let's be honest. No, I don't think so, boys. But I think what I love about the show is that it is really warm.
Yeah.
And I think myself, Paul, Tom, and now Dr. Tara, who joined a couple of series ago, we really reflect that. We love going to work. We love that we hold that value really high. Everybody deserves to go to work somewhere where they have a good time. The world's too hard. We're too long in the tooth for dealing with bullshit and egos clashing. And I think we're really lucky, and it's very special that there are no egos crashing around and anyone pulling rank and anything like that. It's just, and including the celebrities. You would think a celebrity-based show that there would be so many clashes of ego and a lot of conflict, but as a family, and it really is, as a show, everybody, and I think it's how we hold that line. It's like, welcome into our show, but you know what, you kind of play by our rules, which is, no dickheads allowed.
Yeah, no dickheads allowed. And are the celebrities allowed to, do they mix a lot within the show?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, when we record a series, we're typically in series for about 3-4 months of quite intensive filming. So everybody gets to know each other very quickly. We went away this year, which is great because COVID sort of halted a lot of the away trips, but they're sort of back now. We went to Ibiza. And yeah, the celebs, I think what's so nice about the show is that they very quickly bond, because it's really vulnerable. You're on your own. You've got no one to latch on to. If you're on a Strictly or you've got your pro partner to kind of cushion you, but you haven't on Celebs Go Dating. You're on your own and you're on your own journey. You're facing us coaches, and we can be pretty tough love. So they do bond really quickly, which is lovely. And this group did as well. Like Ibiza, I mean, I don't think any of us wanted to come home. We had such a nice time.
Sounds amazing.
We had such a good time.
Yeah, I was going to say, do any of them feel resistant about the advice that you're giving them? Do they ever take it in a negative way or don't agree, or is there any resistance there, or are they all very open to take on board what you have to say as experts?
I would say this series, we didn't have any kickback, actually, any pushback. There's some dressing downs.
Yeah.
Of my frustration is when I see so much potential and so much promise, and just repetitive behavior keeps happening.
Mm.
And it is like talking to a brick wall, and we do have this typically with the reality stars. And I get it, they live in a lot of them have lived in this construct, of reality TV structure, which is a whole weird old world. It really is.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do in a very condensed time is trying to strip away a lot of the fakeness that to their own admission they bring out for the telly. And it's like, we really want you to gain some value, to be able to separate the two.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine to have your, it's great, it's working for you, but it's clearly not, because you're also really deeply unhappy over here. So for me, it's when the advice goes in one ear and out the other. And then you get to a stuck point where you're like, well, what are you here for? Like, you're not ready to make change. And in the real world, that's where you probably would pause and go, you're not ready, actually. We need to take a pause here, because I'm banging my head against a brick wall. But I would say most of them really do take on board the advice, and every credit to them, because they don't have to. And I think in the past, there have been some sticky moments with celebs when they haven't liked some of the advice or the feedback coming their way. Typically feedback, actually.
Yeah.
But look, feedback is so important. There is no failure. There is only feedback, if we're going to one of the presuppositions of NLP. But it's true. What can you take from that feedback? And however you respond to that, I think, is indicative to where you are within your own headspace. Most people take feedback well, but it doesn't come easy to most people.
Yeah, and I suppose it's not easy for anyone to take.
No,
feedback particularly in sport as well. Like, you're used to taking, you have to get comfortable with having a level of criticism and feedback, because, like you say, you're not going to adapt, you're not going to move forward and be able to change. So you have to get comfortable with it, don't you?
You do, or at the very least, try and be objective. You don't have to like the feedback, but I think it's learning from that feedback. So some of our celebrities this series, a couple of them get consistently terrible feedback, and it doesn't sit well with them, possibly justifiably so. They might be justified in some of it, but it's taking that feedback and saying, okay, but how can you interpret that in a way that will serve you better? You can ignore it. You don't have to take it on board. But is there any of it that might just possibly be able just to nudge you a little bit into a better place for you, But as you say, I'm the same. I mean, I've been doing, this job, this job, I have many jobs, but, telly for 25 years. And I consider myself to have the, skin of a rhino now when it comes to criticism. It's a brutal industry, but I'm still a sensitive sausage. At times.
Everyone is to a certain extent, aren't they? And things affect us in different ways.
Absolutely. You're human.
And I suppose that leads us nicely onto your first item that you've brought to share with us. Do you want to just tell the listeners what you've brought in?
Okay, so this was I've so enjoyed getting my head around today, actually, because I'm so busy most of the time prattling on at other people. I don't often spend much time reflecting back on kind of my journey, I guess. But the first item is that classic presenter card back in the day when you could sign a presenter card. So some people may or may not know that I started out as a kids' TV presenter. So from the age of 17, I mean, I'm 44 now. I mean, I've never known any different. This is my world. But I was a kids' TV presenter for 10 years, and I did many shows over all different TV channels. But one of my first jobs was on Channel 5's Milkshake, which is still going.
I know. Do you know, every time, as soon as I saw that, I just wanted to go, Mama, Milkshake.
I know.
Because it brings back so many memories with the kids,
It does, isn't it?
And it's still going, like you said,
still
going strong.
Yeah, so I was, I wasn't one of the first presenters, but I was sort of in the first couple of years of Milkshake starting in its little broom cupboard. And, really, I would say proper, OG traditional kids telly. And I'm so proud of Channel 5 for continuing it, and it's now I think co-prod with Nickelodeon, it's kind of expanded. And I think it's fantastic to have, they've managed to weather the storm of so many cults, particularly in kids TV. I mean, it's not like it used to be.
And the way kids consume, the programmes these days is so different.
So different. And we love it. We still have it on every morning. I flick it on. It's really lovely, just wholesome kids telly. And so one of my first jobs was as a milkshake presenter, which I loved, and I'm very proud of my career as a kids telly presenter. So I actually found that I deliberately went to my parents, who are down the road from me, and I was looking through like a massive. I've got this big sort of like wardrobe of my parents, which they're desperate for me to clear out, and I keep avoiding. And my mum was going, "What are you rooting around for?" And I said, "I'm going on Jessica Ennis' podcast. I need to find something." She went, "Oh, while you're here, can't you have a clear out?"
No.
And I've got literally IKEA bags of VHS.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No. No, I know. I was like, "Another time, Mum." She was like, "Can't I clear these out?" I went, "No." So this is legacy stuff, Mum. This is legacy stuff. But I went to find that because I knew I had, like, that's, gosh, how old is that? I mean, I was like 17 then, and I'm 44 now. So
it brings so many memories there. Like for you, obviously, your journey into TV. But when I think about Milkshake, I just think about being in bed with the kids. Dark in the room. It's like, really early in the morning. You're just like, I just need 15 more minutes sleep.
Stick it on. Stick it on. It's wholesome.
Yeah, it's wholesome.
You can trust it.
But then at the same time, I'm always thinking, how have those presenters got so much energy? Like the dancing, the level that you need to bring every day when you're on that program is so high.
Mate,
like, how did you manage that?
Do you know what? I think a lot of coffee. I mean, I can only apologise to people because I must have been, and probably still, I'm really bloody annoying because I am so grateful to those kids presenters now that entertainment. Many of them are my friends still.
Well, the kids love it though, don't they? They need that energy.
Yes, and I'm like, how the hell are you bringing that much energy? But I think for me, I look at that and I see, a young girl that, hadn't been through a lot of the challenges that I subsequently went on to experience. But you know what, have really made me who the woman I am now.
How did you get into children's TV though? Was it something that you set out, like, I want to be, children's presenter, or did you just want to find your way into TV? Like, what were your ambitions at that age?
So I had no idea about being a kids telly presenter. I mean, how does anyone have that idea? So the actual route I got in, and I think probably why even still now, I'm such an opportunist. I'm such a, I always say this to my kids, just say, yeah, we need to be saying yes more, just yes, you never know where it's going to lead you. Probably because that, if I hadn't said yes, I wouldn't be doing now what I'm doing or have had the career that I've had. So it's a very long story short, I used to babysit. So I come from I'm a country bumpkin, right? And I used to babysit for a couple in my village, like when I was 15, every week, regularly. So I was at school at the time. He was in A&R, in record industry. And it was around the time the Spice Girls had just launched. And really long story short, I used to sing.
Could have been a Spice Girl.
Could have been a Spice Girl, Jess. I could have been Baby Spice.
Oh.
So I auditioned. Then I got into a girl band.
You got in the girl band?
I got into a girl band, yes.
On this podcast, I'm always inspired by people pushing themselves to the new heights. And that same spirit comes through in David M. Robinson's latest collection. Each design captures a different side of life. And at the heart of them all is the same promise: stylish jewellery, crafted to the very highest standards, with a level of detail that makes every piece feel truly special. From day-to-day pieces to iconic collections to bespoke items, DMR has something for everyone. Alongside jewellery, DMR are also retailers of leading luxury watch brands, so it's a perfect place to mark life's milestones. Discover the piece that could mark your own golden moment. Just head to the link in the description. Dream it, make it, love it.
I had my Baby Spice hair, my Baby Spice.
You were in pre-Spice Girls band?
No, it was like same time as Spice Girls. It was called Blush.
Okay.
Right. So then I started doing like all the all the rounds you do when you're in a girl band. We were signed to Polydor Records.
My
we
goodness.
were like the support act for Five. You know, like Five, you know, as
I
in...
loved Five! You were the support act!
I know, yeah, I know.
So we have lived a life.
Well, I lived a life, babes.
Oh my gosh.
Was doing all of that.
Yeah.
Amazing, really, with semi-substandard talent, to be honest. And then... But as a result of that, we were then on lots of kids' telly shows back on the day when you'd be on, you know, prancing about.
Peter and all that,
Exactly, all of that, doing the rounds. And I was like, I quite like this kids' telly. Like, I liked the environment. And then it evolved a bit to then you go and do a kids' telly show and they're like, oh, while you're here, do you want to do a little bit of like introduce the competition? And the other girls in the band weren't that bothered about it. But I was like, oh no, I want to. Like, I really liked it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I quite like this. You know, did a bit of guest presenting, you know what I mean? And then it started from there. And then when I left the band, nothing salacious, just wasn't working out. 18 months in. So I was 17. And my parents gave me an ultimatum, either get my ass back into A-levels, or I begged them, I wanted just to give this path a try. And I auditioned my arse off for every kids' TV station going. And I had a few little ins because I was, you know, ballsy and was asking for the name of the producers and stuff. It took me ages. And then literally, genuinely, true story, one of producers from, it was called Carlton Kids back in the day, just before I got Milkshake actually, I had made myself so annoying to him. Like, this was before like emailing, like I literally would ring him up. I'd actually ring him up and send him letters. Like, that's how we did it back in the day. And he got so fed up, he actually rang me one day and he was like, because I used to send him letters literally every week. He was like, oh God, like, okay, I'm going to give you a try. But look, if it doesn't work out, you've got to stop bothering me, right? So I was like, fine, that's all I need. So I did. I remember I got paid £50. I'll always remember it. I had to go to the Smash Hits poll winners party, I think it was Smash Hits, and interview backstage. Do you remember the cartoons? How old are you, Jess?
I am 39.
Okay, so you're a bit younger than
January.
Me. Ooh, exciting party. There was this, do you remember the song Ooh, Ee, Ooh, Ah, Ah? Yeah.
Walla Walla Bing Bang.
Yeah. So I always remember interviewing them. They were the first band, how iconic, that I interviewed backstage. When I did that, it was in Birmingham, I think, or something. Remember thinking, this is amazing. I've earned 50 quid from doing this. And that was that. Rest is history.
What a story. I thought you was going to say like, I just entered a competition and then, you know, won and then I became a presenter.
I have hustled my arse in through the back door my entire life. My dad has always given me the best advice, which I still live by and I teach my kids as well. If you can't get in the front door, you find a way in the back.
I love that. That's me. I love that.
That's literally me.
So moving onto your golden moment, which is a very unusual item that you brought in here. You've brought a yellow highlighter for your golden moment. Well, could you explain a little bit more behind the story of the highlighter?
Well, this is a bit dark actually. So it's sort of golden dark. And I did think twice about, should I do this or mention this or be a bit more jazz handsy? And I thought, no, do you know what? Because it is a huge part of who I am. So kind of around all that time, talking about the kids' telly, segueing into moving into a different area of TV. This also crashed into my world of therapy, which a lot of people know me for now more nowadays. A lot of people ask, well, how the hell did that happen? And through lived experience, basically. So around the time of the kids' telly, as that was starting to come to an end, I was in what would now be described as a abusive relationship. It was coercive control, and it did borderline physical towards the end. And this was somebody that I actually worked with. So it was very claustrophobic. It was all consuming. I was in my mid-20s. Now, I didn't know this was an abusive relationship. I had no idea what an abusive relationship was. The and I always remember it was the same time as EastEnders played out a storyline with Little Mo and Trevor. I always remember it when the face in the gravy. I don't know. Yeah. And it was really brave actually for a soap to go there. But I remember, and I think then, we're not talking that long ago, we really only thought of domestic abuse, domestic violence DV as physical like that. Nobody really talked about coercive control, psychological abuse, which a lot of people who have been in that situation will say it's as bad, if not worse.
Yeah.
And the person I was with was not a good person to be with. So around that time, I started to be feeling the effects of what being in an abusive relationship can be, which is the mask is external. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. But behind closed doors, treading on eggshells, concerned about, what he was telling me, controlling my life, controlling my opinions. And anxiety started to play a huge part in that.
So were you aware of that at the time, though? Did you? Because I can imagine you're living through it, aren't you? And it just becomes your day to day. But were you aware of how he was speaking to you and how that was making you feel and the manipulation? Or
I think this is why I wanted to bring it up, because if anyone can kind of take any comfort from the fact of people go, well, Anna should know better, but when you're in the eye of the storm, you're so clouded that you don't know. I knew that things that would be said to me like, and forgive my language on this, little trigger warning, but you look like a slut. You're going out like wearing that, if I wanted to go out with a pastry girl, I would. If I got a text message, who's that from? And feeling like I had to justify myself. And this would be gradual, and it would gradually ramp up and ramp up. The first time you laugh it off.
Yeah.
The next time it's just said with a little bit more force behind it. Then it turns into show me the text message. So you show the text message just to keep it at peace. Then it starts to do, and this is how it starts. And the eggshells start to become more and more fragile. And a couple of moments. I remember going to a telly party, and this might sound like I'm being a bit sado, but I remember coming home and I'd had a really good chat with Anton Deck, and I was quite starstruck by that, if I'm honest with you. And I remember coming home, and again, I had nothing to hide. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Pretty innocent person I am. Very. And this is the thing: someone like me was a complete target for someone like that. Open, trusting, honest. And I remember coming home, and then, who'd you talk to tonight? Oh, God, I talked to Anton Deck. Oh, it was really fun. Did they try it on with you? No, of course not. I bet they did. I bet you were whoring yourself out. And then it starts. And then so then you find yourself backed into, no, I wasn't just, now, I'll be like, get out. Get out. How dare you speak to me like that? But you don't know it. I was 25. Oh no, I didn't talk, I didn't talk to I wasn't flirting. I bet you were. I bet you got their number. And that's how it all starts to unravel.
And you love him as well. So you
want to make him feel okay. So, and that's when it all starts. And so, it's things like that. And it was, then saying he didn't have any money and taking my credit card, saying, and then saying that I should give him my credit card because if I loved him, then that's what you do in a relationship. So it's all of these things. And now, gosh, with the benefit of 16, 17 years, on, I'm like, this is why I'm so passionate about my work. I kind of just went along with it because I didn't want to cause any friction or ruffle any feathers. I didn't. And then I knew it wasn't right. But I didn't know how to get out of it either. And so then during this time, this brings on to the highlighter, I'd become so anxious. So this was a symptom of stress I was under. So the mental stress and emotional strain I was under started to become symptomatic. And this is where mental health and physical health are so interlinked, because mentally I was starting to really, really unravel. Because when you are treading on eggshells, your adrenaline is just firing on all cylinders. Cortisol, so all these stress hormones, they're exhausting. And if they don't have any let up, you are going to burn out.
Yeah.
You are going to have what we call a nervous breakdown, or what we did back in the 80s. It's what happens. So that's what was happening. And then when that happens, then all the other symptoms started to flood in. I wasn't eating properly. I had developed what's called globus pharyngeus, when I physically couldn't swallow. It's an anxiety response. Because all your sort of vitals your fight or flight is kicking in, your sympathetic nervous system's kicking in. So suddenly I'm in a state of high alert the whole time. Is he going to question me? Where is he? Am I home on time? He's told me I need to be home at 9 o'clock. Oh, it's 2 minutes to 9. So suddenly you can see how you start to ramp up. So I was becoming very unwell mentally, but I had no idea at the time. Those around me didn't know.
Did your family, did your friends, or were you did they could see?
My family had expressed
but only through
concern.
the physical. once you start having symptoms, did they know before that you were, because you said you'd put on a facade, and I think that's very typical, isn't it?
Very, very typical, yeah. I think it's also, you can sort of tell when someone's really defending that partner.
Yeah.
My family had picked up on a few verbal interactions of the way he'd spoken to me, and they were not comfortable with it at all, and they'd vocalised it. And I love my family so much; they're great, but they had vocalised it quite rightly. It's difficult though. Was I ready to listen? I was, but I think I was also too scared. So I was sort of in a hybrid of trying to keep them happy, but going, no, I know what you mean. But he's all right, and thinking, no, but I know they're right. I really need to get away from him, but I don't really know how. And this is all too really stressful. I don't know what to do. And then you sort of bury it. And then I didn't feel strong enough to do anything because I was just about hanging on, trying to do my job as a kids TV presenter, which takes a lot of energy. And it was just, there was a lot going on. Another symptom, OCD, a really obsessive compulsive behaviour kicked in. And the reason why I picked the highlighter, because it sounds a bit of a random one, but whenever I see a highlighter now, it's, I'm fine with it. It's not triggering.
Oh.
It's not. No, it's not.
I feel awful now. Let's move
it. No, I brought that in because, but this is the point. Babes, I've done a lot of therapy of my own. And I'm in a really good place. Is because I recognise, to your point, did other people recognise? My co-host at the time then started to recognise that I wasn't okay. I started to become very obsessive around timing. I didn't get my script by a certain time because it was all playing into having panic attacks. I was just relentlessly having panic attacks. But I always had to have a yellow highlighter pen. It's what I developed, part of my OCD. You know, we get these, I know people can relate to, if I don't pass that traffic light before it's turned, red, then something bad's going to happen. If I walk over that drain, I'm going to get whatever. We sort of put these measures on what we do. If I don't see 2 magpies today, just warning, I'm going to have a terrible day. All those kind of things. So I had developed an obsession around a yellow highlighter pen and having the right colour paper that my script was printed on. If it was printed on the wrong colour, oh my God. So this is where, and this is what I always say to people, how can you spot someone struggling mentally, is when their behaviour starts to change. What you would call their normal behaviour, for what you recognise, it starts to change. And if I had been more clued up on, which I am now, on my mental health, I would have totally identified this was not my normal behaviour. Normally I couldn't give a toss what time it is. I'd normally rock up and blag the script, but I'd become very obsessional about using a yellow highlighter pen on my script, having my script at a certain time, and I would be having panic attacks if that didn't happen.
And was that like to have an element of control over what you were doing?
Completely. I think it was control. I think it was also just, this is why OCD kicks in for a lot of people, is because it's a form of it's a coping mechanism. It's a coping strategy when so much else is unraveling. But it wasn't long after that I affectionately call Meltdown Day, because it all came to a head actually when I was still there at GMTV. And genuinely, full credit to my bosses at GMTV and ITV. They were all fantastic. So kind, so supportive. And this is the thing, I had not, up until Meltdown Day, where I was just not sleeping, I was panic attacking, I was obsessing over everything. And I'd never asked for help. And it was one day I'd come in, I just couldn't mask it any longer. The guard dropped, and that classic, someone asks how you are when you're in that vulnerable moment.
And
instead of I'm fine, I always say to people, ask someone twice. I'll give you the real answer the second time. Not fine. I need help. But I remember going home to my parents at this point, and I just flatlined. It was like I was done mentally.
I don't even know how you were able to continue, because doing a day-to-day job, but actually being on TV and front facing all the time, that must have contributed and added to that build-up of anxiety and stress that you were just with constantly.
Yeah, there's nothing more unfun than having a full-blown panic attack whilst you got 6 cameras pointing at you. Which is amazing, really, that I continued in telly, because, and this is why, I'm a big fan of exposure therapy with a trained therapist, because I could have learned that was an unsafe place for me, that it was triggering for me. And it's not. And I think this is why I felt really sad about myself, with hindsight, because I was like, I love nothing. And I love nothing more than being on telly, creating my telly shows. I'm such a creative. I love working, with, alongside the producers, and yet I was dreading the one thing I loved because my mental health was shot to shit. And I remember at the time thinking, I just need to get away. I just need to pack my job in and go and live, on a cliff somewhere in Cornwall. But that wasn't the solution. That was running away. That was not recognizing that I was unwell and I had to make some significant changes in my life. And those but you can't do it if you don't know, if no one's taught you, which is why I've gone on now in my life, and my legacy in life until the day I die will be teaching other people in my sort of, I guess, token, stereotypical, honest, humble way, that, it's okay. How the hell do you know unless no one tells you? And actually, I've got a brilliant family. I remember going back home. Parents were like, oh, you're here now. What's happened? I cried my eyes out for 4 hours. So much so, I always remember mum was hoovering around the armchair. So I'm crying my eyes out. She didn't know who the hell to call. They cared about me. Firstly, boyfriend, sack him right off. Parents intervened and went, right, you're no good. Get out of here.
Yeah.
It wasn't as easy as that. He took a little bit of a push, I'm not going to lie. But recognise that needed to go, and I knew that. I just needed help. And then my mum, she worked in the NHS and private healthcare for like 40 years. She didn't know. No one talked about mental health in 2005.
No.
But she knew one of her friends at the hospital she worked at. My mum was a medical secretary. Happened to be like her mate, who was the medical secretary for a really good psychiatrist who specialised in anxiety disorders. So my mum just rang him up and was like, my daughter's just come home like a total mental mess. Can you help her? And I remember he phoned me and I was like, oh my God. It was like God had got on the phone, because he just totally rationalised and normalised everything I was feeling. And I went from feeling genuinely like I was insane, it's the only way I could describe it, I felt insane, and suicidal, I felt that bad, to he was like, tell me everything that's been going on, which I did. He then labelled it all, spelled it all out, and he was like, of course you feel like that. Who wouldn't?
Oh,
come on in, let's have some therapy.
Incredible moment.
Oh God, Jess, I walked in that office, I went in the next day, my mum dropped me off, and I walked into his doctor's surgery thingy, sat down in a chair, big old box of tissues, let it all out, and he put me back together. And I remember when I got in there, he was like, right, when do you want to go back to work? Oh, I'm not going to work, I got a panic attack. And he's like, it's cool, we'll go back to work. I'll go back to work in 4 weeks. I was like, this would just be joking. Anyway, he did.
That's incredible. Yeah. And so how long after that period of, having the meltdown and seeking help, did you decide that actually, I suppose it leads us on to your third item as well, your book that you've brought in, Breaking Mad. How long was that period of time that you actually realised, do you know what, I want to go into training myself up. I want to help other people that have suffered with anxiety disorders and other issues. Was it a natural move towards
Absolutely.
therapy?
Yeah, because when I'd never had therapy before. I didn't have any particular thoughts on it either way. But I guess probably had the stigma in my head that, it happens to, great Auntie Nora who got, sectioned back in 1952, which is so unfair to have that stigma around it. I mean, we've all got mental health. 1 in 4 of us, I think a lot of research is more 1 in 3 will have, a bit of a dicky time of it, and it stands to reason. Of course it does. But I remember going into therapy and, having this wonderful cocktail of different therapeutic modalities and techniques through this wonderful doctor. Some of it was regressional hypnotherapy, which I'm a big fan of, where we located my first panic attack, incidentally at 8 years old in a swimming pool.
No way.
Yeah, because it was a learned response.
But had you ever had panic attacks from that? Obviously, that was your first episode, but then between that period of 8 and obviously the relationship that you had, did you have any signs of... You did?
I did, but I didn't know that's what it was.
Yeah.
No, I just thought, I remember once when I was like 16, I think I thought I had an asthma attack, but on reflection, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was a panic attack. I was in a social situation that I wasn't comfortable with. So anyway, I had so many, he did emotional freedom techniques, another one, talking therapy, all kinds of different, practices. And And I felt great, like it started to work. And actually, really, at its base level, I started to realise who I was. I was a massive people pleaser before that, wasn't putting myself first, hadn't set any boundaries in life, didn't even know what boundary was. What is that? Boundary is something you do in, I don't know, rounders,
Yeah.
And it was just really empowering. And part of my recovery was having tough conversations and being empowered in role play to have those big conversations with people that needed to hear them. Shitty ex being one of them. Some people I worked with, I needed to, articulate myself, what I needed, what I didn't need, to help me be the best I could be at work. I had short-term medication as well, which was necessary at the time because I was just completely run out. And then it was after that, and long story short, I did go back to work, had the best 2 years of that show that I'd ever had. I was like, oh my God, I feel like I have come alive. I feel like I know who Anna is.
Did it make you realise how awful you must have felt before?
Yes. And I think, I know this probably sounds really, and I hope this doesn't sound crass or offensive in any way, but having that breakdown, having that horrendous relationship, I would never, ever wish it on anybody. I'd never wish to go through it again. But it was one of the most poignant and life-changing moments of my life. And I see the positives in what that taught me, because I don't believe I would be the therapist that I am now, doing the show I'm doing now, Celebs Go Dating, if I didn't have lived experience of being in an abusive relationship and being that person that probably was a bit judgy before, going, how can people stay in an abusive relationship? Why don't just get out of it? I know it. I know. I know you can't. I know how hard it is. And so that's when, once I'd come through that, I was like, this therapy, I'm really interested. And like now, I mean, podcasts weren't around then, but like even now, there's so many podcasts and books and everything on all kinds of well-being topics, which I do a couple of them. And you do, obviously now. And I remember thinking, I want to learn a bit more about this. So I started getting some books on counselling. And then I joined Childline and trained to be a fully qualified Childline counsellor.
That's
incredible. And I was on the phones, to the kids. Then one thing leads to another. You then go, and then someone goes, oh, have you seen this course? Or have you tried that qualification? And then I got into neurolinguistic programming, which I thought was a really interesting. Tony Robbins, a lot of people will be familiar with, who kind of comes from that process. So then I was like, that's really interesting. So then I went and did that course. And then I went and did that qualification. And then started to just add. And then I was fascinated in psychotherapy and CBT. And so then started adding into my skill set. So this was always something I wanted to do, not on the telly. It was something that I was just so fascinated with, thought it was so brilliant, so interesting. And then best laid plans and all that, it ended up being on the telly.
And it's a skill set that you have for you personally, but also for your children, for life in general. You've written this incredible book, and
thank you.
Is this aimed to help other women, men, people dealing with anxiety and issues that they perhaps might not know what they are at the time.
Exactly. So this is this is what I brought in as my third item, my book, Breaking Mad, The Insider's Guide to Conquering Anxiety. So I always joke that I gave birth twice that month when this came out, because I actually gave birth to my son as well as publishing the book, the publication date. So once I wanted to write the book that I wished was around when I needed it, when I was in the depths and the trenches of a full-blown anxiety disorder. I have forgotten to say I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and panic disorder, which is something I've managed ever since. And I found at the time there was nothing relatable to what I was going through. This is no shade, but I didn't want, when you are, and this is again coming from lived experience, when you are in the grips of an anxiety disorder, you're so tired and frazzled, and your sympathetic nervous system is all over the place. You have no capacity to concentrate. So reading kind of jargon or, it just wasn't possible. And that's all I could really find, was it all felt a bit heavy and a bit jargony, and all I needed and wanted.
Very sciencey.
Yes. Which is great. And I've obviously learned all that now. But at the time, I just needed someone to tell me, A, I wasn't going mad. B, I wasn't alone. And C, I was going to be okay. Oh, and D, what's actually happening to me? So that's why I wrote Breaking Mad. And I track really meltdown day. It starts at kind of meltdown day. And it then chronicles the symptoms, the scenarios, the anecdotes, the scenes, the times, the moments, the thoughts in an everyday way that taps into how everybody can deal with and experience anxiety at different levels, when it's debilitating or it's not, whether you're on, you're going into a work presentation and you're freaking out, you're on the tube into work, or you can't do it, you're going into a social situation and you're sweating and you're using the loo and you're ghosting your mates, and now your mates think you're a flake and you don't want to go. I literally break it all down in bite-sized activities. And the biggest, and this has been out for years now, and I've gone on to write 3 others, and forgive the Willy Wave, it was an Amazon #1 bestseller, and I couldn't. I will Willy Wave on it only because it beat Mary Berry's cookery book that day, and I remember I didn't know how big a deal it was until literally the founder of Bloomsbury Publishing, who J.K. Rowling's publishers for Harry Potter, rang me to congratulate me, saying it's only happened a handful of times in the history of Bloomsbury for someone to hit that spot. So
that's honestly incredible.
Well, you're kind.
To go through everything there, but to actually put it into, a book and to words and to help other people that's really special.
Well, the kindest thing for me is when still now, it's still, and when the other ones I wrote, one was on parenting anxiety. That's a whole new ball game, as we know. One was for teens and one was for relationships. But it's when people message me and have got Post-it notes or have turned down the pages on their favourite activities or their favourite coping strategy, and I literally break it down to, you're about to have a panic attack because you're going into a work situation or whatever and you're having a panic attack. Right, here's what you do. Find a bog cubitacle. Get yourself in that bog. Here's a grounding technique. Here's a breathing technique. It's let's go get it, Tiger. You've got it. And that's kind of how I wanted it to be. Just practical advice, tangible advice.
Because I think with anxiety, like you say, there's so many levels of it. And that we all experience anxiety to some extent.
We need to.
How you deal with it and how it can very quickly get out of control and how to, like you say, have those practical advices to just, ground you in that moment. And that's gold, isn't it?
Well, I think so. And I still use them now. I do with my children, and I think it's a much more accepted topic now. I think we recognise it. And I think it's important for people to remember that, we do need anxiety. That is our body, it's our natural panic alarm. It's to stop us falling off a cliff, running in front of a car. It's just when it starts to become out of control. And again, I talk about, normal, but the dictionary's definition is your functioning level.
Yeah.
So if your level of normal, some people are more anxious than others, just predisposed to be. I think I probably am.
Yeah.
It's hereditary as well. My mother's very anxious, so is my brother. But it's when you start to realise that your life is becoming more challenged and your quality of life is being limited, and you're making choices or decisions that are limiting you because the anxiety is dictating that's when to get a grip of it.
The whole discussion around anxiety in children is, for me, it's a big thing. I think having your children and the anxiety that comes after that, but also there's often this perception that anxiety just goes once they're babies, and actually I find it kind of gets a bit stronger. I wouldn't say I'm someone, I don't have an anxiety disorder as say, but I think that I worry a lot. When you've got kids, you worry so much about the future and illnesses, and it can very quickly become this ball that can, get out of control.
Well, it's all consuming, and I think you're really honest with sharing that. And I would agree with you. My kids are, how old are yours?
So my son's just turned 11 and my daughter's 7.
7, 11, okay.
Yeah.
And mine are nearly 6 and nearly 9. And I would agree with you. I would say, and I experienced postnatal depression, of course I did, postnatal anxiety. I would agree with you. I would say I find it very overwhelming. And I think you're right. I think there's a lot of emphasis, quite rightly, placed on those first couple of years post-birth, watching out for postnatal depression, poor mental health, because as we all know, those early few months and years of becoming a parent, are really challenging, overwhelming, all-consuming.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you, actually. I think we lose a bit of validity around that. it doesn't just go, it doesn't just tail off. For many of us, me included, it actually ramps up. And I would say my anxiety's shifted to a different form. It's copable,
Yeah.
but sometimes it does overwhelm me. And I think, to your point, I'd love to know what parts of motherhood make you feel anxious, because mine are around school and fitting in and coping well with their emotional regulation at school. One of my children struggles with emotional regulation. That phone call of doom when the school ring. I mean, name me a parent that doesn't have a shoot of panic in their chest when they see the school number ping up on their phone.
Oh, it's the worst
It's
feeling.
the worst. And I don't know if you're like me. It's, hello, Mrs. My married name's Di Pasquale. Hello, Mrs. Di Pasquale. It's the school. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
But every time that phone rings,
Yeah, you literally just freeze.
It's
hello.
like, what now? Either
Yeah.
one of them's done something, or there's an issue, or
Something's
someone's
wrong.
hurt, or something's happened. And I think for me, and I think to try and reframe it, that we come from a place of caring. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. We just have to be good enough. And I think being anxious about our children comes from a place because baseline, we give a shit. But it can be, I think as well, because we can't be there all the time for them, the older they're getting.
And that changes a lot, doesn't it? As
Yes.
like you say, you have to give them a bit more freedom. But I feel that it's, the way, for example, the way I would process worry about the kids would be very different to the way my husband would process worry. He kind of, they're fine, it's going to be all right. And I'm like, Googling everything and worried that they've got this illness or something, that kind of anxiety around, I suppose, like their health and their future. Like you just want them to be okay. And I think that's something that I notice.
I think you're right. I think health is probably, and you know why? Because I think health is wealth, and it is something we just have no control over.
That's the thing, the control.
It's control.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, every time I, see on Instagram or hear on the news about a little one or a friend of a friend's little one who's got some horrible illness, you can't help but quickly add to the Just Giving fund, and because you're like, Christ, I just don't know how people cope with that. And I've been talking of anxiety actually. Like I say, I do manage it really well. I do practice what I preach, but we're human, and there are some things you cannot plan for. And actually, I did have a particularly anxious moment in recent months filming Celebs Go Dating, funnily enough. I was in the middle of a scene, and I don't normally have my phone on me, but I did have my phone on me because we had to do a video call with one of our celebrities, so I just used my phone. And suddenly I see the phone call of doom. So I answered it, and it was the school, and one of my children was very distressed, and there was they needed to be taken to the doctors. Basically, there was something medical that had cropped up, and so straight away I remember. And I go into this weird sort of autopilot, like robot, and I was like, I've got cameras everywhere, my colleagues, and I just went, okay, I need to go.
Yeah,
and they were like, is everything okay? I went, I need to go. It's my son. I need to go. And great, go. And I remember, very long story short, we had to then, my husband managed to intervene, but my son particularly wants me. He just wants mummy when he's not feeling great. So, that pull for wherever you are is, like someone else, isn't it? Right? I mean, talk about mother instinct, Mother Earth, whatever you want to call it, mother's instinct. And I remember shooting back home. I had taken them to A&E, who were amazing, and he'd never been to A&E before, so this was all quite overwhelming and stressful. And everything's fine, by the way. There was nothing serious, thank God. But it was in that moment where I was like, this is just like the worst thing in the world, because I can't control it. And you're trying to control your own emotions whilst trying to control and help your children. And I think it's the helplessness you can feel as a parent when your children are suffering. And you can't give them the answers. Mummy, am I going to have an operation? Mummy, and I'm like, I don't know the answers to any of this, and it's
so hard.
horrible because you're handling so many emotions, and you're trying to handle them in a way that it's not going to trigger anybody.
To handle your emotions so that you don't upset them and stress them.
And I think that's what it is. It's the overwhelm.
Yeah. I think that's definitely for me. I'm I think my whole life I've been very in control.
Yes.
And it's been very structured, and you do this and this happens, and then you work a bit harder and that happens here. And even then having kids, that throws you into a world of trial and error, and kids don't do what you expect them to do. And then as they get older, which obviously my kids are, they're not babies anymore. I mean, that next phase of kind of discovering, giving them a little bit more independence, and then you lack a little bit more control, and it's really challenging.
Do you know what it is? And I don't know if you've had this conversation with yours yet, but mine are now becoming really fascinated with private parts, and PSHE is brilliant, and I'm really pleased with how they're being taught it. I'm actually very comfortable with those topics because I used to deliver them as part of being a children's counsellor. But I think that's another source of anxiety and overwhelm as a parent. And I don't know if you saw recently. Did you see recently that teacher in Namibia that did the private part song? Have you? These are my private parts. It's been viewed over 100 million times.
Yeah,
it's really
so
really
it's a song.
She's developed basically. She's a first grade teacher in Namibia.
Yeah,
and she is teaching them a private parts song, basically that. These are your private parts, and it's quite assertive how she's delivering it, and that nobody should touch them. And if anyone touches them, I am telling, and then lists out a load of trusted grown-ups. And my kids picked up on that, we talk about private parts all the time, they're fascinated with it. But again, I think that adds for me so much kind of. Oh gosh, you want them to be appropriate, because equally, so many other people are learning about those topics at their own pace.
Yeah,
and I then worry, do people think my kids know too much? They don't. I don't believe they do. But you also don't want to then say, I don't want to say to my children, look, just because they know about sex, they know how sex happens. It's my personal way I parent, but that's led on statistics in other countries that have reduced issues around consent and teenage pregnancy. So it's just the way I teach it, age appropriate.
Yeah,
but I'm also aware that some of their friends, their parents, my kids go to Catholic school, aren't that comfortable, and that's also perfectly fine. So there's the anxiety of I don't want you to be the kid in the playground that's telling everyone how sex operates, because some kids aren't ready for that. Yeah. Because that's their parents' wishes, and that's also fine too. And it's how
it is hard. It's
stop.
So hard. Yeah. It's and it's so dependent on your individual child as well.
Oh, and mine likes to be
they're so different, aren't they, in maturity levels? And I think as a parent or as a mum, what kind of level of information that their brain's able to absorb.
Exactly. And my son is a very inquisitive child. And if I don't give him the facts, he will create a different untruth. And that is, in my opinion, far more harmful than him knowing the biological facts, but in an appropriate way. And actually, a lot of people ask me, well, how do you teach kids about topics like that? And I'm like, sometimes it is too much, I believe. And there are some questions that he's asked me that he's obviously seen snippets and things. But some of them I reply to him and say, you know what, that's a great question. I don't think you're old enough yet to know the full information around that. So tell you what, we will get onto that at another time. Is that okay? And he does understand that. But I want him to appreciate, that sex and reproduction and body parts, they're not dirty, they're not they're not taboo, but equally, just because we're quite liberal with nudity, I can't have him going around school with his out, so it's a really fine line, isn't it? And actually, I end up finding myself now, because I get anxious, and like you say, difference between husbands. My husband's is he wouldn't even give any of this a thought, Jess, and he'd be laughing at me going, oh Anna, you get yourself so wound up about it. So I'm like, oh, now I'm anxious about then you're like, what do people so I end up then taking to the WhatsApp group, the parent WhatsApp group.
Okay,
guys, they're all a bit, they've just had PSHE, which they had recently. It was brilliant. They all learned about consent.
And so what year is that then?
He's going to year 4 now. So I'm like, just so you know, I'm quite open with my children, because, but they all know my kids. My son's, he needs to know that I've given him the facts, but I also appreciate that some of you might not be okay with that. But if please come to me if anything's said in a playground that you're not okay with.
But that's great though. That's the way to do it, isn't it? I think that the hardest thing is when they ask you those questions at the most awkward moments. When you're not prepared. It's like just before bed or last thing at night, where it's just like that question bang, and you're like, oh. My daughter was asking me about puberty the other day.
Oh yeah.
And I was just in the car driving and I was like, well, your body changes and, it's just a rush of hormones. And she was like, what are hormones? Like, goodness me, this is a deep conversation. I'll tell you all about it, but just later.
Yeah, we'll do a book together.
We'll do a full book.
My poor husband got, did you say, wrong time, wrong place? And my kids seem to have an absolute knack for this. They're fascinated with seeing myself and my husband naked because we look a bit different. And I mean, my... Kill it so good. Sod it. We were in Costa Coffee the other day, and because the kids were like, well, and I said, don't make it dirty. Don't shut the door or put your towel around you.
Yeah.
You can explain, because the kids, they're being silly, but whatever. And he went, I keep coming in and looking at me, and now I come out the shower. And then I can't remember if it was my son or my daughter that we're in Costa Coffee, and my kids don't talk, by the way, they shout.
So do mine, and so does my husband.
Yeah, they shout. And at top volume, the queue you get, obviously waiting for your coffees. There was, you get like the bananas and the fruit, token fruit at the till.
Yeah.
Daddy, that banana is massive, just like your willy. I said, well, look, they could have likened it to the plum, babes.
I mean, he should have been happy about that.
I think he was secretly pretty happy, but equally absolutely mortified.
Yeah. Oh no.
And then I was like, we don't shout about people's privates in public.
I could probably say worse as well, but
we talk about this on Luana quite a lot. And again, I know so many parents can identify with it, and because there's nothing, and I hear it, and I'm like first to have a laugh. You're in a toilet cubicle, and then we have so many of these stories on Luana, and you're in the big long cubicles, and you're taking your kid into the toilet, and the kid's gone to his mum. Oh, mummy, why do you look like a beaver or something or whatever? And it's like.
And you're like, darling, just be quiet.
Exactly. Or someone I remember coming in saying, Mummy, why have you got a party popper in your ninny? It was a tampon. And I just think, what? We're all in the same boat.
Okay, so I've got some quick fire questions for you to finish with. Some
go
golden quick fire questions.
Go on then.
Are you ready? Okay.
Yes.
When is your golden hour? So it's a time where you just feel completely you.
I can tell you. My golden hour is when I'm walking in nature. I'm a country bumpkin, but I lived in central London for many, many years. When I'd had my massive breakdown in my 20s, I realised that actually what grounds me, and there's so many people that will that agree with this as well, that in the therapy world, that nature is so grounding. Lots of people going back to whole Mother Nature. It really works for me. Might sound a bit woo-woo, but for me, that's where I get real mental clarity. I get quiet peace. So my golden moment is, I'll do it most days, it's just going for a walk, either with the kids, sometimes not, just walking, trees, fresh air. And I genuinely feel so fortunate to live in the countryside.
I completely agree with you. Like we live on the Peak District and just going out in the hills, it's just, I don't know, you just take a moment, don't you? And
Jess, I'm coming round.
Yeah, come for a walk.
It's just, isn't it just fun? We've fallen in love, I mean, it's not the Peaks, but we've fallen in love with the Lake District, and we've just come back, and to the point we'd almost relocate, like not even joking, we would love to. It's just, for me, nature and trees and lakes. And I think
it does. It makes a huge
difference. And so
difference.
many people are quick to like bash the UK, and focus on shit bits about, England. And I'm like, you know what? Everywhere's got its challenges, granted. And I'm not saying they're not challenges, but when you look in one of the wonderful places that we have in this country, like, it's gorgeous.
Pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Okay, who's been a golden influence in your life?
I'd say my mum and dad.
Yeah.
I have a very strong relationship with both of them. I'm so bloody lucky to have them as my parents. And I know now, as a grown-up, how much that really is fortunate. There are so many people out there that can't say that. And the fact that I can, I really don't take for granted. They are wise, they are kind. And I think everything that, my brothers and I stand for, values-wise, comes from them.
That's amazing. I love that. Do you have a golden moment you completely messed up but can laugh about it now?
My golden moment that goes spectacularly wrong, Celebs Go Dating, we have the sexy slow-mo shots.
Oh, yes.
You'll have done them, Jess.
I'm equally not great at them either. I'm like, let me do it again.
Oh, you feel like such a like first grade bellend, don't you? And it's just like, okay, guys, okay, sexy agents, walking down either the stairs, your big grand entrance into the room, and you can hear Rob Beckett's voice in the edit going, and here they are, the sexy bastards, blah, 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 blah. So think slow-mo, think sexy, think pan up from shoe, up your little sexy number, your dress, to smouldering face with a strong lip. Cue Anna stacking it on her heel.
Oh no.
Every time.
Were you going downstairs or just
stairs, pavement, when you get your heel caught in a pavement crack. Or the one that happened this series of doing it, we were really overrunning. It was like midnight on Wardour Street in Soho, trying to do my sexy shot. And there I am, work it, Anna, work it. And then beep, 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 bin lorry, backs in. It's like, it never backs into Tara's shot or Paul's shot. Why is it with my bloody shot? And it is, I've just accepted now. I mean, now my exec on Celebs calls me Bridget, as in Bridget Jones. And I think it's actually a great description. She's like, she just calls them out. I'm their Bridget.
I think you're rocking the Bridget brilliantly. Okay, what is your hidden golden talent?
Well, I'm a pretty good skier. Well, that sounds a bit bouge. I know.
That's very bougie.
Sounds a bit bouge. Yeah. Not because I'm being a bougie bitch, but again, this is what I love about my parents. The shit that they didn't like doing in life or want to do, they never let it stop their kids.
Yeah.
So going into a girl band at the age of 16 was not a choice of theirs, but they let me run with it. They've always had good boundaries on us, but they've also let us have our heads, me and my brothers. And I really wanted to learn skiing when I was a kid. So I remember begging them to go to the school ski trip when I was like 11. And I just fell in love with skiing.
Okay, final one. So this one's been made for you. So is there a golden celebrity that you've just loved working with? Like one golden celebrity? Or one that you'd love to work with in the future?
There's so many, but I'm going to choose Alison Hammond.
Oh, we love Alison Hammond.
Love Alison. She is just, when I'm all about flying the flag for the sisterhood, when just someone really good does well, and you're like, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, she's done so well,
hanging in there.
When someone's just grafted so hard.
Yes.
And
and she, she takes so much shit. Like so many people in the public eye take so much shit. And she's still sunny and still like resilient. And I love her. Someone I would love to work with. And you'll think this is probably a bit random, but I just am obsessed with her. Is Miriam Margolyes.
Oh, really?
I just love her. I think
I don't know. I think the obsession come from.
Well, I think possibly I work with Louisa Zissman, or best mates, and have my Luana podcast with Lou, and Lou doesn't hold back and just saying it as it is.
Yeah.
And Miriam's a bit like that. The fact that she can just sit on Graham Norton's show and just blatantly fart because she wants to. I'm just down with
you're about that.
Just doing you. Do you.
Yeah. I think in the world that we live in now, everybody wants to put this facade up and this pretense of who they are, but actually just being yourself it's quite rare, isn't it?
I think so. And I think there's scrutiny is at a height now. I think in life in general, we're very quick to criticize. Everyone feels that they need their opinion heard.
Yeah.
I don't believe you do, and I think sometimes we just need to chill out and ease up a little bit on people. And I think what comes with that is people feeling a lot more filtered because, and I can appreciate that. I'm probably a bit like that myself at times because I just think, oh, is it worth it? Is it worth me saying what I think about that thing, or shall I just shut up? Because if it's going to create, I just don't want to welcome that into my life. I'm quite a simple person. It's just not, it's not worth it. But then I think, oh, that's a shame because, but then so I think I probably really admire people like Louisa, like Miriam, who are just like, fuck it, I don't care.
I'll just be me.
And I'm like, you know what? Me. You don't have to like what they say, but they're allowed to say it. Yeah. And I think I really respect that.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, well, thank you so much, Anna. It's been so lovely to see your items, for you just to just be so open and just reflect back on your career and your journey and where you are now. You've done so much.
Well, you're very
so much.
Jack of all, master of none, Jess, let me tell you.
No, you've mastered it all, honestly. It's incredible. Well, and I really appreciate you coming on the pod.
Well, I was about to say I'm the queen of the back door, but then I've just realised that probably has a whole different connotation.
Well, I didn't want to say anything, but that's your strap line.
Ironically, if you listen to Luana, it's the one thing I'm not a fan of.
On that note, it's been a pleasure to have you. Please leave through the front door today.
I'm going to interpret that as please get out now. And I will take it. Jess, you're a triumph. I have really enjoyed coming on today. Thank you.
I feel like I should come and do a session with you as well. Not on Celebs Go Dating, Happily Married.
Well, I was going to never say never, Jess. No, I'm joking. I am joking. I do not want to see you in there.
No,
you're never coming in. No, but we'll do a private sesh.
Lovely.
You can,
thank you so much.
Thank you.